All right, so I've been waiting a couple years for this product to get an upgrade, and today they finally have done that. This is the brand new Sony shooting grip, remote handle Bluetooth, otherwise known as the GP-VPT3/B or W, depending on what color you get. I just love where Sony comes up with these names. But anyways, this is the version 3 handheld tripod Bluetooth remote. And it's gonna look very similar to the previous model. It still has kind of the same tilting head that goes 80 to 90 degrees. And it also has the rotating top, which is gonna look very similar to the other one. But this thing has two big differences that stand out from the previous model and a couple different usability functions as well. And today we're gonna show you everything this has and see if it's actually worth buying. All right, so the first thing you're gonna notice is it's still a handheld tripod. It still folds up. It still goes into those selfie modes. But the one big difference on the front that you'll notice right away is that the remote actually has a few more buttons and it almost looks like it comes off. That's because it does. So now you can take the remote out of the grip itself and use this by itself if you need to, or if you want to set up your tripod and then go back and like turn on your camera, you can do that with the remote. Now, one other really cool thing with this is that they're going to sell this whole thing as a kit as well as separate. You can buy the remote. So if you wanted only the remote, you can actually buy just the remote, which is also really cool. Especially if you have cameras like the ZVE1 or ZV1 or ZVE10, because those are all Bluetooth cameras. They do not have the infrared remote signal, so like using these remotes aren't going to work. So for me, this is going to be an awesome thing because I have a bunch of these ZVE10s and ZVE1s that I use in my studio, and I always have to hit the record button before I start videos. So this is actually going to be really cool for that. So let's get a camera on top of this thing here real quick. As you'll see here at the top, it just has like a little wheel that you just literally line up, and then you can just tighten up that wheel. It tightens onto the camera. Just a few little turns there, and now your camera's attached. So now if you want to be going out and doing like selfie modes, it's really easy for that. If you want to flip it really quick to do other shots, you can flip it, and that actually flips into 4 different spots where it stops, which is really awesome as well. And it doesn't just have to be handheld. You can use this thing on a tabletop. You can rotate it. It does have a dial on the side here as well, so you can tension it to hold the different tensions. But you know, this thing is gonna be really nice if you're doing a lot of tabletop stuff and you want to like point your camera down at what you're working on. You can do that with this as well. So it doesn't have to just be a handheld tripod. It can be a pretty functional table tripod. Now, I did wish they kind of did something like PGY Tech where they put some hooks in there so you could make one more function out of it, but maybe that'll come in the next version. So like I kind of said before, the remote is definitely what sets this thing apart from the previous one. And if you look at the remote here, actually, we'll do a quick zoom in shot. So you see there's a third mode now. So you do have the lock mode, which is going to lock the controller completely so you can't accidentally bump any of the buttons. And then if we go all the way to the left, there's the zoom dial, and that's going to let you to control the zoom of the camera. Now, if you are using a power zoom lens, like the kit lenses, or like the 16 to 35, or the 18 to 105, any of those power Sony zoom lenses, this will actually control the power zoom, which is really cool. Especially on a lot of these cameras now, they have like zoom rocker dials. That's a pretty cool function. Now, if you are using a lens that's not a power zoom lens, you can set the camera up to clear image zoom, and that way you can zoom in to that 1.5 crop. So it makes like a prime lens or a zoom lens, whatever, have a little bit more extension to it, being able to use this dial as well. So now if we move the dial to the focus dial, what that's going to do is it's now going to allow you to control the focus of your camera from the remote. Now, if you actually have a certain camera like the Sony ZV-1 or the Sony a7S III or something like that, there is an autofocus button here on the thing where you can actually change your focus dial from toggle autofocus to manual focus. So you can do that on the remote as well. But now it allows you to use the telephoto zoom rocker to actually do like focus pulling on the remote. Now that's actually a really cool thing if you are a distance away and you want to do some cool focus things, or if you just want to be able to control your focus without having to do it by hand. And I feel like it's actually a pretty good speed as well. It's pretty smooth. So that's a really cool function. That's new on this one as well. Below that, we do have the C1 button. So that's going to be your custom button on the top of the camera. So whatever you have your C1 button set as on your camera, that's what's going to be on the remote as well. You can't change the remote to be something different. So make sure you're using your C1 button on the camera purposefully. You can go into the menu and change that to whatever, and then that'll control that as well. Also on the remote, you do have your shutter button, which is going to be your camera shutter button. It is kind of touch sensitive, so it's going to react the same way way your camera does, so if you push it halfway down, it's going to focus on what you want, and then you can push it the rest of the way, and it'll take the photo. And below that, we do have the record button as well. If you do have your camera set up to do shutter button to control your record, then this one will also do that as well and record. That way you could potentially change your record button on your camera to be a different custom button, and then that would follow that as well. So this remote control is going to work with any of the Sony cameras, especially the newer ones that has the Bluetooth function so that you can pair it in Bluetooth. So if you want to still use like an A7S III, your FX3, your ZV-E1, your ZV-1, maybe your ZV-E10, all those cameras are still going to work. Now this thing does have a payload of a 1.5 kilograms, so it's still actually going to hold a decent amount of weight. Now I will say if you do put a really heavy setup on here, it is going to make it a little bit more tippy on the tripod. And I will say there is a little bit of play inside of this pan lock where it does kind of jiggle a tiny bit. I don't think it's going to be a big difference when you're actually using it, but it is something to be noted. All right, so let's go take this camera out. I'm going to put it in selfie mode and we're going to just walk around and see what it looks like. All right, so we're currently using the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II with the Sigma 10-18 lens. This is an active stabilization. This is the look you're going to get with that 10mm. I love how you can just use the record button right off the hand, so you don't have to actually take your hand off anything to control the camera, including the zoom. So if you want to do that clear image zoom, it's super easy to do, and you can zoom in and out as much as you want. If you have that power zoom lens, like I said before, you'll also be able to use that function with the power zoom as well as the clear image zoom. So I love how you can do all of that without having to take your hand off of the grip, which makes it really convenient. Now if I take it out of active stabilization, now we're going to get a really wide image with this 10mm lens. Now it's going to be a little more shaky because this camera does not have IBIS, but I think it's pretty good considering. So if you guys are wondering what the range is on this new Sony remote, it's going to be 10 meters, which is 33 feet, which is double of what the predecessor was. That one only went to 5 meters. So now you can be 33 feet away from your Bluetooth Sony camera and still be able to control it, which is pretty sweet. So one really big benefit with the shooting grip is it weighs almost nothing. Like literally it doesn't feel like I'm really holding anything more than my camera setup. And that's going to make it a lot easier to vlog without having that arm fatigue from holding like heavier tripods or gimbals, things like that. So honestly, that's what you want in kind of a good vlog setup, is something that you can just put on the camera. It doesn't add weight, and it makes your life a lot easier having to control your camera. That's what you want. All right, so I really think this is an awesome accessory for Sony cameras. I really love the remote. I think it's going to be a really big help having that remote. Like, I die by this thing when I'm shooting these talking heads, and not all my cameras are IR mode, so having this is going to be really nice as well. In fact, I probably am going to pick up a couple of them so I can control all my cameras in here. The tripod itself is really nice. If you guys are doing a lot of like vlogging and stuff, it's perfect for that. If you're doing just a lot of tabletop content, it's really nice to just set down and adjusts. I wish it did have maybe some different height levels to it, maybe a selfie stick that would come out to make it a little higher. That could be more useful, but I still think you can actually still put this on a tabletop and adjust it to where you want it. All right, so let's talk about the price on this guy here. So if you're going to get the entire shooting grip that comes with the remote, that's going to come in at $159 USD. And if you want to get the remote by itself, this is only going to cost you $89 USD. So personally, I think it's worth just having the grip and the tripod itself. But if you want to get that plus a couple remotes, that's going to be a good thing. Also, speaking of the remote, I will say too, it has a nice little like thing on here. So if you want to put like a little leash or like a grip or something to hold on to it, you can use like a camera strap or something. That's pretty cool too. That way you won't lose it as easy. So, but yeah, this is a really cool little accessory for Sony cameras, and I would highly recommend probably checking it out. Now, if you are vlogging, you're probably not going to be using like the focus mode as much, so that's not a big deal. But I do like the fact that you can set it down, walk away from the camera, and then still control the camera with the remote. That's something you really couldn't do with the old one. And also speaking, if you wanted to use the other one just as a remote, you had to use the whole grip, and that just looked silly. So, all right, so I'll put a link down in the description as soon as they're available here if you want to check it out. If you guys have any other questions on the grip itself or the remote, please leave me a comment down below. Like the video if it's been a help, you guys, and subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along to other gear reviews, Sony gear, all sorts of stuff coming out in the future. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Later. But seriously, what is GP-VPT3 even mean? Leave me a comment down below what you think. I'm guessing it's probably like grip video photo tripod, and it's the 3rd edition. I don't know. Leave me a comment. Later.